Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bill Mack here, Team B. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Bullaby has already published his video. I was unable to join him to do that, so now am going to release my results for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which was a pretty decent pay-per-view. Like I said, I'm hopefully we'll be back together to do the Raw post show. But I'm going to give you my results of it and my opinions on it, along the way. So I hope you enjoy. So the Money in the Bank pay-per-view came from Las Vegas. It was a pretty decent pay-per-view. It had been hyped up for the last few weeks, and overall it was a decent show. Not a super over the top show, but it was a decent show. As we had the kickoff show to start us off, hosted by Renee, Lita, and Booker T and Corey Graves. We had two matches that were on the kickoff show. First off, we had the Golden Truth versus the Breezango. They did a skit early on in the show showing that Goldust had played a trick on Breezango when Breezango went to get in the tanning bed to tan a little bit. Booker T, not Booker T, but Goldust locked the door so they weren't able to get out, and it just shows them all red and peeling from the red from the tanning bed and being burnt. This played a part in throughout the whole matchup. As you can see, they were red blatantly, and they were getting slapped and everything else, and it was kind of affecting them in their matchup. But when it comes down to it, Goldust ends up pinning Fandango after hitting the final cut. Goldust and R-Truth, this is their first ever win together as a tag team. Crowd didn't see much into it, but it was a decent show. Next up, we have the last match on the kickoff show. We saw the Lucha Dragons taking on the Dudley Boys. A few high spots in the matchup, your typical Dudley Boys dominating, but as we see the ending coming when Sin Cara pins Bubba Ray Dudley after the Salida del Sol from Kalisto and a Swanton. They get the win. The Lucha Dragons get the win. Probably this has got to be a pushing match because I just don't see how the Dudley Boys will lose, but they are older talent, so you could see them end up pushing the Lucha Dragons. So that was the last matchup we see on the kickoff show, and now we dive straight into the Money in the Bank card. As first off, we have the tag team fatal four-way matchup for the WWE Tag Team Championship. We have the champions, the New Day, as they take on the Vaudevillains versus the Club versus Enzo and Cass. And this has been a feud that has been building up between the four tag teams over the past month. It's been a good, steady feud, and it led into a good matchup here between all four tag teams as we saw all four tag teams get their spots in the matchup. Some good back and forth action, quick tags, that you would typically see through the pay-per-view. So this was a really good matchup between all four teams. It comes down to it that the Club ends up hitting the Magic Killer on Aiden English, and then New Day end up hitting Carl Anderson with the Midnight Hour, and then pinning Aiden English for the 1-2-3. Thus, they are retaining their WWE World Tag Team titles, and they are basically they are working towards the record for the longest reign as tag team champions are well on their way for that. Let's hope they can cross that threshold once they get to it. But a good overall matchup with them. Up next, we have a matchup that nobody really cared much for. This is the same matchup we've seen over the last last two pay-per-views, but this time it's actually not a dark match, and that's the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin taking on Dolph Ziggler. I like Ziggler. Ziggler should be in a higher-up feud. This feud has really done nothing to me. It's really done nothing that I can see to push Corbin. Corbin really hasn't gotten a rub, rather than basically when he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. That's about the only thing he's gotten that's really shown anything for him. He just really doesn't do it for me. He really doesn't stick out, and I don't know how long they'll keep him in that. He's probably going to fall by the wayside, quite like Neville has in that situation. I know Neville's been injured, but Neville really doesn't have an impact in his matchup either. So this I see Baron Corbin as joining Neville as one of those groups that did not manage to make it in that. So but as we see the matchup goes along back and forth, Corbin ends up hitting Dolph Ziggler after hitting the end of days on him. So we see Corbin win another matchup on a pay-per-view against Dolph Ziggler. So I think he's two out of three. I think he's beaten Dolph Ziggler with these pay-per-view matches. So nobody really cared about it. I sure didn't, and I'm just glad it's over with. Now I hope they'll let this feud die, and Ziggler can move on and do another feud that's worth him going after. So Baron Corbin does, however, get the win at the pay-per-view. Up next, we see the women's tag match as we see the women's champion, Charlotte, along with her protege, Dana Brooke, as they take on the tag team of Natalya and Becky Lynch. Just as happened over the last few weeks, Charlotte saying she didn't need her father to win alongside of her. He ends up leaving, and then Dana Brooke, which is one that was assisting her last week against Paige. Dana Brooke, remember, Dana Brooke threw her back in the ring. She wasn't ready yet, and then Paige ends up getting the roll-up pin, causing some friction between Charlotte and Dana Brooke. So we wonder if that's going to carry over onto the matchup. And we saw Natalya and Becky Lynch on the pre-show doing in the social media room answering questions. So they look like they're ready to go and tag team action. The match happens. Charlotte ends up pinning Natalya with the natural selection. After the matchup, as odd as we see it, Natalya is basically turning heel on Becky Lynch. So now Natalya, this apparently is going to set up a feud between Natalya and Becky Lynch for the future, as we'll probably see Sasha Banks come back and probably feud with Charlotte. So that's probably what these are setting up. But Charlotte and Dana Brooke they'll pick up the win in this matchup in the pay-per-view. So that's how basically the women's storylines are going. So it's good to see them with more than just one storyline out of the women's division. So we look like this is going to be a feud between these two ladies as well. Um, we pick it up now as we see a matchup between Apollo Crews, who's part of the new era at WWE. He was brought up on the roster, really hasn't made much of an impact. Like people would have thought. I mean, Enzo Cass got over. A lot of these other new ones have gotten over, but he was kind of one that just hadn't. But they put him in a feud with Sheamus, and Sheamus isn't always your fondest one heel. He's one you kind of basically get tired of, but he does have a good work ethic, and he will put over talent. So it's good that maybe you need to start Apollo Crews out with someone like Sheamus and let him get over rather than just somebody in a feud that's really meaningless and not going. But they've had a good feud over the last few weeks. We see that Sheamus ends up hitting the white noise on Apollo Crews from the second rope. However, he does get just a 2 count on that. And then while he is over in the corner complaining and to the referee about the count and all, it allows him Apollo Crews enough time to gather himself together and get a crucifix pin 1, 2, 3 on Sheamus. And your winner in this matchup is Apollo Crews taking the victory today. So maybe this will help Apollo Crews by getting a pay-per-view win, getting it over a talent such as Sheamus, and hopefully he can become some sort of star in WWE. So congratulations to Apollo Crews and his matchup and his win. Up next, we have AJ Styles. This is one of the matchups I have looked forward to tonight. AJ Styles taking on John Cena, his returning pay-per-view matchup. John Cena's been out with injury. AJ made his debut a few months ago at the Royal Rumble. Glad to see him in. These guys can put on a good matchup. I know AJ can. He's very talented. He's been all over the world, won championships all over the world. All he needs to do now is get one in WWE. They've kind of made that a point. Him and Cena's feud has been a good feud. I would like to see it further on, maybe another month or so with this. And from the looks of it, they may just do that. That's good because you have AJ come in with Jericho to work just to get in. Then he goes up against Roman Reigns in the pay-per-view, and I think that's a really good matchup to have him against, and because AJ can carry a good match, and I think the match not only helps him, but also it helps Roman Reigns. And now with Cena, because these guys are very limited in the ring and what they can do, and it's good that you can have someone like a worker like AJ Styles, which is someone who Vince McMahon is highly proud of in order to get that. So we'll just look to that and see what's going to happen in the matchup. But very good matchup here as we see. The ending comes when the referee gets knocked out by the AA as John Cena attempts to do it on AJ Styles. John Cena does have the victory in his pocket, but since the referee's out, the club takes advantage of the situation. They come out, they hit the magic killer on John Cena, and they take AJ and drag AJ to cover John Cena for the 1, 2, 3. So now you have it. The club somehow makes their way in. AJ Styles does end up getting his victory over John Cena. And like I said earlier on, this will likely carry over until the next few weeks, until the next pay-per-view, which is something I want to see happen. So AJ Styles does pick up the victory over John Cena in their matchup at this pay-per-view. So congratulations to AJ Styles. Up next, we have the match that the pay-per-view is themed after, the Money in the Bank match. What it is, you have 6 guys going one-on-one with ladders, and whoever climbs up the ladder grabs the Money in the Bank briefcase that's high above the ring will get a free title shot for the World Heavyweight Championship, no matter when and where, for well over a year. So whoever wins will get that shot for the WWE title whenever they choose to cash it in. So we have 6 contenders. We have Dean Ambrose. We have Kevin Owens. We have Cesaro. We have Sami Zayn. We have Chris Jericho. We have Alberto Del Rio. And this was a good matchup, all the way through. A lot of high spots with the ladders being used so much, which is what makes this match really. Isn't the winner. It's how they use the ladders, and you want to see what kind of damage these guys are willing to put their bodies through for this matchup. But it was a good matchup, as we've seen with them, and what we see is the matchup between the 2 guys that basically boils down to the 2 favorites of it were Kevin Owens and not Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose. These 2 guys are the final 2 on the ladder. They start wailing on each other, and ends up Dean Ambrose hits Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens goes off the ladder, falls onto another ladder, which allows Dean Ambrose to be the one and only on the ladder. He climbs up, grabs a hold of the briefcase, and there you have it. You have your new Money in the Bank winner. You have Dean Ambrose, which I think I predicted him to be win the Money in the Bank briefcase, because WWE and their storylines have made it recently like they want to have this Shield reunion for the championship, but it remains to be seen. But as for right now, Dean Ambrose is your Money in the Bank winner, winning over Kevin Owens and everybody else. So congratulations to Dean Ambrose on capturing the Money in the Bank. Up next, we have the WWE US title matchup, and this really wasn't a matchup as much I was like to see. We have the US champion Rusev, who has looked very dominating since he defeated Kalisto back at the pay-per-view for it. He's looked very dominating this past month, and we've seen him dominating Titus ONeil, who has his family watching along the ringside. And after Rusev puts the accolade on Titus ONeil and makes him tap, Rusev goes over to where his children are and tells the children that their father is a loser, which I guess this will further along Rusev and Titus ONeil. And I want to see Titus ONeil get a good push. I hope he, can take it and go with it. I hope the fans get behind him. And we'll see what happens in the pay-per-view. So the next one to come up, if they do indeed go along with this feud. So Rusev wins by submission to retain the WWE US Heavyweight title. So congratulations to Rusev on his dominating performance. Up next, we see the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This is the main event of the night. We've seen the champion Roman Reigns who defeated the Game Triple H at WrestleMania to retain the title. To gain his title, he takes on Seth Rollins, who made his return at the Monday night after WrestleMania. We see his feud has been with Roman Reigns over the last month. We've seen Reigns making a point that he's the big dog, he's the man with the title. We've seen Rollins say the man that said, "Hey, I never lost the title. You haven't beaten me yet to beat a man, and until you beat me, then we'll see." But Rollins said he was going to get his title back. So it was a good matchup between these two. Decent matchup. Reigns goes for the spear on Seth Rollins. Rollins ends up countering it and putting him in the pedigree, but he ends up getting a 2 count. Rollins ends up hitting another pedigree on Roman Reigns, and he ends up winning back his WWE World Heavyweight title. So we see that Seth Rollins has gained the WWE title back. He's happy about it. He never lost it. Roman Reigns never pinned him. And you think that's the end of the pay-per-view, but no. We have a surprise. Lo and behold, Dean Ambrose comes in, ambushes Rollins, cashes in his money in the bank, and as soon as the bell rings, he hits a quick dirty deeds on Seth Rollins. 1, 2, 3. There you have it, folks. In the middle of a ring, you have a new World Heavyweight Champion. In just a matter of a few minutes, we have the new WWE Champion, Dean Ambrose. Congratulations to the Lunatic Fringe, who has a long time, I felt like, deserved a title run with it. He is now your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. We're going to see where that leads us to, and how he took he's like Edge, the ultimate opportunist, took advantage of the situation, came in, cashed it in, and he won. And he becomes the 15th now out of 17 winners of the Money in Bank to cash it in to be successful. Only 2 have failed to do that. So we look forward to seeing what happens on Raw after the pay-per-view, and hopefully Bullet B will be back in time, and he and I can get together and do a post-Monday show for you like we always do. So I hope you've all enjoyed these results. Sorry we're not able to get them done, like I said, do a Team B, but, hopefully we'll get together and do the Raw. So everyone, I hope you take care. If you like what you see on my page, subscribe to it, like this content, share it with others, get them to subscribe if you like wrestling. I do wrestling, do TNA, WWE, also do advice, all sorts of different things that I have on my page. But if you want to, just come to my page and subscribe to it. And go to my friend Bullet B's page as well. Subscribe to him. He's got a lot of good content on his page as well. So until next time, until we get together, this is Bill Mack. Everyone take care, and I will talk to you soon.